Hey everyone, good morning. It's Brent with BC Dubs, and I have a special, very special guest here with us this morning, Madeline. I was already recording, and she happened to walk into the man cave, and I told her I was doing a video, and she said I wanted to be in your video. So here she is. Say hello, Madeline. All right. So we're going to get into today's slate of college football games today. It's a great slate. It's Championship Saturday, as we all know and love to call it here in college football. We had some games last night. We had Army versus Tulane and UNLV versus Boise State. We're going to talk about those games. If you find this kind of content enjoyable and watchable, please feel free to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single video that we post here at BC Dubs. And Maddie, we're all going to get back into our music review videos soon. I know that my older subscribers to the channel are probably missing that. It's taken a back seat, unfortunately, to college football. For me, I only have one day a week to get to do things like this, and when college football is around, we're talking about college football. So let's talk about the UNLV Boise game. Boise took care of business. They beat UNLV 21-7. So they have punched their ticket to the horrible, as I like to call it, 12-team college football playoff. I just don't like the 12-team format. I don't think we're going to see it around for very long, or we're going to see some major conferences opt out of the college football world as we know it and go and take their ball and go home if this 12-team playoff keeps coming up. And we'll talk about that in a later video. Also, Army did beat Tulane yesterday, but unfortunately, I don't think it's enough with the schedule that Army plays to get into the college football playoff. They would have had to have beaten Notre Dame to even get a shot at that, and we all know that they did not do that. Let's talk about some games that have piqued my interest. There are some smaller conference games going on today. We're going to glance over those. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about our major Power 4 conference games that are coming up today. And first up, the first game that I want to talk about is the SMU Mustangs versus the Clemson Tigers. You know, everybody had wrote Clemson off this year. Everybody's got a hot take on Dabo Swinney and his lack of using the transfer portal or NIL. And everybody just wants to, leave him for dead and the Clemson Tigers for dead every year. But let's be honest, as bad as the ACC is, as long as Dabo can keep getting a top 15 recruiting class over there at Clemson, they're going to be in the conversation every year to win that ACC championship. They have gotten some really good quarterback play this year out of Cade Klubnik. I mean, Cade Klubnik is thrown for over 3,000 yards this year, 29 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions, so he's taking care of the football. They're not running the ball as good as they were last year, but Cade Klubnik has taken care of the football. They lost a heartbreaker last week. You going, Maddie? Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, bye-bye to Madeline. They lost a heartbreaker last week to South Carolina, but they were in that game, and we all know that South Carolina is playing really inspired football, probably one of the hottest teams coming into the end of the year. We all know they got that screw job in that LSU game, and if they hadn't, we'd be talking about a 10-2 South Carolina team right now. So Clemson played them tough. Lenore Sellers is the real deal. He's just got the it factor. I can't wait to see what he's going to do next year over there in South Carolina. But we're not talking about South Carolina, Clemson. That was last week. We're talking about the Clemson-SMU game. SMU's quarterback, Jennings, there, 2,746 yards on the season. I know he has a lot of rushing yards as well, 19 touchdowns to 7 interceptions throwing the ball. We do have some turnover provocations there with Jennings. 19-7, touchdown to interception ratio is not that great. Clemson is and does have an opportunistic defense. They will turn you over there. This game is in Charlotte. It's at 8 o'clock tonight. The spread, they got Clemson, SMU, -2.5. I don't think SMU gets the job done. I think Clemson finds a way to win this football game and punch their ticket into the college football playoff. And I think that the overall talent, and I'm not saying we're just rolling our helmet out there and Clemson's going to win because of the logo. I just think in general, the overall talent of Clemson gets the job done. And I also think, although I do love Rhett Lashley as a coach, part of Gus Malzahn's coaching tree, matter of fact, there are two coaches that are in this college football championship Saturday head coaches that are part of Gus Malzahn's coaching tree. So for all of the joking that we do about old Goose Malzoon, down there at used to be UCF. Now he's going to be the offense coordinator at Florida State. More on that next year. People better watch out. Gus Malzahn, you take the pressure off of him from being a head coach, where he can just be the signal caller. I think FSU is going to have a pretty prolific offense next year. Look for a lot of running the ball, FSU fans over there. A lot of misdirection, and an exciting offense to watch. I don't know, man. Rhett Lashlee's been a great season for them. I just don't think they get it done. I think the pressure's too much for SMU in this game. And Clemson's been there. Dabo knows how to coach in these big games, and I just think he gets the job done. And unfortunately, we get a soft Clemson team. Now, I'd rather see SMU in the playoff than Clemson. I think SMU has a better opportunity to make some noise if they were to get in to the playoffs than Clemson does. But I think Clemson gets the job done and beats SMU. So my betting money today would be on Clemson to win. No spread there for me. Next up, we have the Iowa State versus Arizona State. That's a hell of a story. Arizona State this year kind of came out of nowhere. Everybody had them dead in the water, picked to finish dead last, and that the Big 12 down there lost the first couple of games of the season, and then just ripped off a bunch of wins right after that. Iowa State's Rocco Beck, 3,021 passing yards this year, 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. So he does have a propensity to turn the ball over there. But man, Iowa State's rock solid on defense, and they got a pretty damn good offense as well. Versus Sam Leavitt, 21 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So quarterback play is pretty equal there for those two teams as far as throwing the ball. We're not talking about the rushing aspects of these two quarterbacks for these two teams here. We have Iowa State at -1. Game's going to be in, I think it's, where is it at? Arlington? Yeah, in Arlington, Texas. I don't really have a feel for this game. I don't think that I bet this game today. As hot as Arizona State's been, I'm just going to go Arizona State to win and them to punch their ticket into the horrible 12-team college football playoff. Well, we'll have a bunch of 3 and 4 lost teams, or 3 lost teams in there. And if anybody's excited for that, we're going to get to my feelings about the college football playoff when we get through these games here. So I like Iowa State in that game, Arizona State in that game. Penn State versus Oregon. Can Oregon stay undefeated? Will they run the table through the regular season and not drop a game? Yeah, I think they do that. Drew Aller's playing pretty good football, but I mean, the numbers aren't eye-popping. 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Nothing crazy there. Penn State does have a very good defense. For Oregon, the last time they faced a really good defense was in Ohio State, and that game was close. 1-point decision there for Oregon in that game. They'll face a similar, maybe not as talented, but a real raw and gritty defense in Penn State today. I think Dylan Gabriel gets the job done. Dylan Gabriel was, we were talking about Dylan Gabriel as a Heisman hopeful there about through the middle of the season, but I think we all know that Travis Hunter has pretty much ran away with that thing. The spread is Oregon -3.5. I like that as the best bet. I think Oregon gets the job done. I think they go undefeated in the regular season and punch their ticket into the playoff, which, even if Oregon was to lose this game, they would still be in the playoff. And I think Penn State's going to be in the playoff too, even with a loss. So I think we're going to end up seeing Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana all in the playoff in the Big Ten. I think I've heard some takes that Penn State loses this game, they're not going to make it in. I don't know why you would punish Penn State if they lost to the #1 team in the country if they keep that game close and competitive. So I do like Oregon in that game. Like I said, that's a best bet for me. Texas versus Georgia. Wow. Let's talk about this game for a minute. So Georgia, it's hard to read Georgia, man. It really is. They're up and down. It's been a roller coaster season. It's hard for me to even talk about Georgia. As an Auburn fan, I can't stand them. But in the effort of not being a homer, we're going to talk about Georgia today. They've had an up and down season, man. Slow starts in first half of games has cost them dearly this year in multiple games. We've seen it time and time again this year. Carson Beck, who is playing a lot better as of late, was not the quarterback that the Georgia fans thought he would be this year. They thought that maybe you take a step forward, and if you take a step forward from the incredible play that Carson Beck had last year, I mean, the sky's the limit. But they have dropped 3 games, but like I said, Carson Beck has played better as of late. Who's it going to be for Texas? Quinn Ewers. We're going to see a lot of Arch Manning. I think you're going to see a mix in this game from Texas. I think they're going to try to throw everything that they got to beat Georgia in this game, and I think you're going to see Arch Manning coming in to do some running plays. I think you're going to see Drew. Oh my gosh, Quinn Ewers in there. You hear a lot that it's hard to beat a team twice. It's hard to beat a good team twice. I'll give you that. It is not hard to beat a team twice. But I think in this instance, I think Georgia does beat Texas today. I think Georgia beats Texas. I think both teams are into the playoff. The spread in this game is Texas -3, so it's not a big spread. I know that the first game that they played against each other was an anomaly. Offensively, I think it was Carson Beck had turned the ball over 3 times in that football game. They weren't great or dynamic offensively against Texas in that first football game. But short field position, I think their starting field position was like the 45 in that game. Short field position allowed Georgia to have short scoring drives in that game and to stay there in field goal range and win that football game. I don't think this game's going to play out that way. I think you'll have to see longer drives from Georgia in this football game. I also think that Carson Beck has got to play one of his best games of the year to beat Texas today. I think that Georgia will have no problem getting up for the task. I think that Texas will have no problem getting up for the task today. The championship's on the line, the SEC championship, that is. I think the deciding factor in this game is going to be the defensive lines. Texas's defensive line against Georgia's O-line. Can Georgia run the ball and open up the passing lanes for the tight ends for Georgia, and vice versa for Texas? Can Texas run the ball? And I know they've had their running backs came on strong of late, but can Texas run the ball against Georgia's defensive line? I think both teams are going to be able to run the ball. I don't think you're going to have eye-popping numbers from either running game from either team in this game. I think this game's going to come down to the lines of scrimmage and the playmakers on both teams. Which one of these quarterbacks, Arch Manning, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, who's going to make enough plays to win this game? I think Carson Beck does. I think that Steve Sarkisian gets out-coached in this game by Kirby Smart. And I think Georgia wins at basically what I would consider a home game, in there in Atlanta, Georgia. So I like Texas in that game. That's it as far as talking about the slate of games, this menu of games that's, today. I did say that I wanted to talk about this 12-team college football playoff and all these three-loss teams that are in there. They were selling you that, this 12-team playoff is going to be better because, we'll have some variety in there, and you won't see the same usual suspects won't be in every year when we're talking about the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Clemsons, the Alabamas. It's going to allow room at the table for other players or other teams. Well, guess what, man? Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, they're all still right there. And a lot of these other teams don't really stand a chance against these teams. Yeah, anything can happen. The football's oddly shaped, the bounce the ball stuff, turnovers and everything else. But man, all we're doing is watering down the regular season. And I knew it was going to happen when they announced this 12-team playoff. And if you don't believe that's the case, well, why do we have a bunch of three-loss teams in the playoffs? 10 years ago, 3 losses, you were cooked. Your goose was cooked. 2 losses, your goose was cooked. 1 loss might not get you in a BCS game. I mean, every single game mattered. Every single Saturday it mattered. You couldn't lose a game. And you don't think it's weird that the first year of the 12-team playoff, these perennial powerhouses have lost more games than they normally have? than they normally do. Georgia with 3 losses, Alabama with 3 losses. I know Alabama had turnover at the head coach. I know Nick Saban left, and that has something to do with the fact that Alabama has 3 losses. Ohio State with 2 losses. These teams know that they can drop a game or two as long as they win their conference, or as long as they're at the top of their conference, especially if we're talking about teams like that are in the Big Ten and the SEC, and still get in anyway. And I'm not saying that teams are intentionally losing games or anything like that. I'm just saying it's a little harder to motivate and to get up for every single game every Saturday when your season's on the line every single Saturday. And I think that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a watered down version of college football. I just hope that this championship Saturday and that these playoff games live up to the hype. But anyway, I'll be posting some shorts throughout the day. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I know I'm rambling on here a little bit. But yeah, man, that's my take on the games today. Everybody enjoy your Saturday. If you had a hard week at work, today's an opportunity to relax, enjoy some college football, and we'll see you on the next one.